My Little Bible presents Samson, the hero of the magic mane. Hi kids, are you ready for an exciting adventure? Today I'll tell you the story of one of the strongest and most peculiar heroes in the Bible. His name was Samson, and he had a very special secret hidden in his hair. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start from the beginning. A long, long time ago, in a land called Israel, lived a righteous man named Manoah. Manoah loved his wife very much. They both wanted to have a child, but for some reason, they couldn't. One day, while Manoah's wife was alone, an angel sent by God appeared. The angel gave her good news. She was going to have a baby. But this would not be just any baby. He would be a very special child for God. The angel explained that the child should follow special rules. The most important was that they should never, ever cut his hair. Can you imagine? A child who never gets his hair cut. I bet your moms and dads would be very happy not to have to chase you with scissors, right? When the baby was born, they named him Samson. And just as the angel had said, his parents never cut his hair. As Samson grew, his hair grew longer and longer. But that wasn't all that grew. Samson was not like the other children. While his friends played hide and seek or ball, Samson liked to lift huge rocks. Yes, just like you hear it. Where other children saw a large stone and thought they couldn't move it, Samson thought it was a new toy. One day, while Samson was playing near his house, he saw a group of children trying to move a fallen log that was blocking the road. He approached curiously and asked them what they were doing. The children explained that they were trying to move the log, but it was too heavy, and not even all of them together could. Samson, with all innocence, asked if he could try. The other children laughed. Samson was smaller than them, and they thought he was joking. But Samson approached the log, grabbed it with his little hands, and lifted it as if it were a twig. The other children were left with their mouths open. Amazed, they asked him how he had done that. Samson, scratching his head, simply replied that he supposed it was because he ate a lot of spinach. Of course, it wasn't the spinach. It was the special power that God had given Samson. But our little hero didn't quite understand it yet. As Samson grew, his hair grew longer and longer. And with every inch that his mane grew, Samson became stronger and stronger. Soon, everyone in Israel was talking about the young man with the strength of a giant and the hairstyle of a rock star. One day, while Samson was combing his hair, which I must say took him a long time, his mother approached him. She told him that it was time for him to know the truth about his hair. Samson, joking, asked if the truth was that he needed a stronger shampoo. His mother, laughing, explained that it wasn't about that. She told him that his hair was special, a gift from God, and that his strength came from it. She recounted the angel's visit and the promise they made never to cut his hair. Samson listened attentively and promised to take care of his hair as his most precious treasure. Now that Samson knew about his special gift, he was ready for great adventures, and he sure had them. One of the most famous was his encounter with a fierce lion. One day, while Samson was walking through a vineyard, he heard a terrifying roar. Suddenly, a huge lion jumped in front of him. Any normal person would have run faster than a rocket. But Samson wasn't normal, remember? Instead of running away, Samson looked at the lion and spoke to it as if it were a person, telling him that it was rude to jump on people like that. The lion, of course, didn't understand a word. He just roared louder and pounced on Samson. But our hero was ready. With incredible force, Samson grabbed the lion and beat him with his bare hands. After the fight, Samson shook off the dust and continued on his way as if nothing had happened. Imagine the faces of his parents when he told them. He told them that he had gone for a walk, met a lion, they fought a little, he won, and then asked what was for dinner. His parents probably thought he was joking, but Samson was telling the truth. It was just another day in the life of the strongest man in Israel. As Samson grew, he became a judge of Israel. That means he was a leader and protector of his people. And they sure needed protection, because at that time, the Philistines, an enemy people, bothered the Israelites a lot. The Philistines were like those bullying kids in the schoolyard, always bothering others. But with Samson around, they had to think twice before messing with Israel. Once, the Philistines did something that made Samson very angry. And you know what he did? He caught 300 foxes, tied lit torches to their tails, and released them into the Philistines' fields. Imagine the chaos! Foxes running everywhere with fire on their tails, scaring the Philistines. The Philistines shouted for help, saying that there were foxes on fire everywhere. Others asked to bring water, lots of water. It was a disaster for the Philistines, but a victory for Samson and the Israelites. After that, the Philistines learned not to make Samson angry, at least for a while. Another of Samson's most famous feats occurred in the city of Gaza. The Philistines thought they had trapped Samson inside the city and closed the huge gates so he couldn't escape. They boasted that the gates were so heavy that not even 100 men could move them. But they forgot one small detail. Samson wasn't 100 men. He was better than that. In the middle of the night, Samson got up, went to the city gates, and you know what he did? He tore them off. Yes, he tore off the huge city gates with their frames and all. But wait, that's not all. Samson not only tore down the gates, but he carried them on his shoulders to the top of a mountain. Can you imagine the faces of the Philistines the next morning? One of the Philistines, yawning and stretching, was about to catch Samson when suddenly he realized that the city gates had disappeared. It was as if someone had stolen the door of your house, but much, much bigger. The Philistines learned an important lesson that day. Don't underestimate a man with an impressive hairstyle. Now, boys and girls, comes an important part of our story. Samson was very strong, but he had a weakness. He really liked a girl named Delilah. The problem was that Delilah was not a good friend to Samson. The Philistines, who were still upset with Samson for all the times he had defeated them, offered Delilah a lot of money to discover the secret of Samson's strength. And Delilah, instead of being a good friend, decided to accept. Delilah began to ask Samson again and again about the secret of his strength. At first, Samson gave her false answers. He told her that if they tied him with 7 fresh ropes, he would lose his strength. Of course, that didn't work. Then, Samson told her that they needed to tie him with new ropes. But none of that was true, and Samson was still strong. Finally, tired of Delilah asking him every day, Samson made a big mistake. He told her the truth. He revealed that his hair had never been cut, and that if it was cut, he would lose all his strength. Delilah, instead of keeping the secret, told the Philistines. One night, while Samson was sleeping, she had his hair cut. When Samson woke up, his strength was gone. The Philistines captured Samson, chained him, and put him to work in a mill, pushing a heavy stone all day. It seemed that Samson's story had ended sadly. But remember, children, God never abandons those who trust in him. While Samson was in prison, his hair began to grow again. And with his hair, little by little, his strength also returned. One day, the Philistines organized a big party in the temple of their god, Dagon. They brought Samson to make fun of him. What they didn't know was that Samson had been praying to God, asking for one last chance to fulfill his mission. Samson asked the young man who was guiding him to take him to the main columns of the temple. There, Samson put his hands on the columns and prayed. He asked God to remember him and begged him to give him strength just this once. And then, with all the strength that God gave him, Samson pushed the columns. The entire temple collapsed, falling on Samson and all the Philistines who were there. And so, boys and girls, ends the story of Samson, the man with the magic mane. He was a hero with incredible strength, but his true strength came from his faith in God. Samson's life teaches us many important things. God gives us special gifts to each of us. Some are strong like Samson, others are very intelligent, others are good at singing or helping others. The important thing is to use our gifts to do good. We must be careful with our promises. Samson promised not to cut his hair, and when he broke that promise, he lost his strength. It is important to choose our friends well. Delilah was not a good friend to Samson, and that caused him many problems. It is never too late to ask for forgiveness and return to God. Although Samson made mistakes, in the end, he trusted God again and was able to fulfill his mission. True strength is not in the muscles, but in the heart and in faith. Samson was strong on the outside, but his true strength came from his relationship with God. So, little ones, remember, be like Samson in your faith and your courage, but try to be a little wiser in your decisions. And who knows, maybe one day you too can do great things for God and for others. And happily ever after, this story of Samson is over. But remember, every time you comb or cut your hair, think of Samson and how God can use any of us to do amazing things. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my little Bible. Until the next biblical adventure, kids!